A lot of the time I go on Facebook Marketplace and I just scroll through the marketplace, looking at different cars I can buy with no intention of actually buying one. The thing is, one day I just decided to buy one, and yeah, here it is. So we have my Mazda MX5 or Miata, wherever you're from in the world. But here's mine. It's my NB. Here it is. I know, I've actually finally done a video on it, not just a video of me POV driving it. So yeah, let's just talk about some of the things I did to it first, and then we'll go into a little bit more detail. Now, the first modification I actually made on this car, well, no, this was the second, with these wheels here, which I'm not actually entirely sure on. You know, they're JRs, so they are rep wheels, so please don't kill me in the comments. But I'm not too sure what I think of them. I did get them for a really good price second-hand off of Facebook. It's literally a Facebook Marketplace build, really, because when I come to think about it, I've bought mostly everything from Facebook. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure on them, and I might go back to these wheels here, which are the stock wheels, which I don't own, but I do like the look of these ones. Of course, we can't forget about this, which is, it's the exhaust. It's very big. I'm not going to touch it because it's hot, but you can probably put your fist in there. It's basically just a very loud Japanese tin can attached to the car. So, yeah. I really hope it's legal because it's very loud, but I'll give you a sound check now. I don't know how much that picked up, but yeah, it's pretty loud. I also must not forget to talk about this, which is the hardtop. They're very expensive and they're very hard to find, but yeah, I quite like it. I'll probably take it off in the summer, but it's got this little, I don't know if you can see that, but you know, it's good. It does the job. It does the job, and I think it makes the car look a little bit more streamlined, you know, a little nicer. Before I get any further into the video, I just want to say, please consider subscribing. It's free, and you might as well do so. I mean, I think around 90% of you guys who watch do not subscribe. So look, if you don't like it, you can always unsubscribe at any time, but I would really appreciate it. Anyway, back onto the Mazda. One thing I do really love about this generation is the body. Sounds really weird, but it kind of reminds me of a mini RX7. I don't know why I can remember the name then. It kind of reminds me of a mini RX7. I'll probably being delusional. I'm probably being blind, but I do sort of get that vibe, especially down here. It is very dirty. It is very dirty as well. It is very. I didn't realise how dirty it was. But we are in January, so I'm gonna try and use that as an excuse. Overall though, I do think that this car is a pretty good car to buy if you want a project car. It's not practical. In fact, you know what? Let's take it for a drive, and then we'll speak about some things that really grind my gears about this car. I also don't know why I'm deciding to do this in January, because it's very cold outside, and you know, the roads are really wet and slippery, but I guess there's not really a better time than now to do things. So yeah, let's go for a drive. So first things first, I just want to say I've actually owned this car for a good 2 years now, so I've had it for quite some time. However, there are a few things I would like to talk about, because don't get me wrong, it's not a perfect car. Like, I'm sure you know the obvious things about an MX5. Yeah, they're fun to drive. You know, they're obviously quite good looking little cars as well. And you know, yeah, they're good, fun cars, but there are some major drawbacks that sometimes make me question this car and if I should actually keep it. The first thing is the fact that, well, there's no space. There is literally no space. And whilst obviously that's expected in a car like this, you know, of course you should know you're buying a two-seater. Like, it is kind of something that should be expected. It's also really annoying at times because, you know, I do wish I had a daily or something. So I do feel like if a two-seater car is your only car, it can be a massive drawback, and it is, yeah, like I said, it's very annoying sometimes. Another thing that I really can't stand about this car is the fact, well, it kind of is sort of the case for a lot of older Japanese cars, but it rusts so way too easily than it should. And maybe it's a lot more noticeable because it's a smaller car, but trust me, it can be very expensive to repair. Very, very expensive to repair. Cool cars out today. There's a lot of cool cars out today, I've got to say. I've seen a GR Yaris, and I've also just seen an old Fiesta. I think that was some sort of Isuzu thing. I've probably pronounced that wrong. There's a lot of cool cars out today. It's kind of the first nice day of the year. There's, the sun's out. It's January, it's cold, but it's definitely a good day to take a car for a drive. Another thing about the MX5, which I mean is another, it's pretty notorious for this. Caterham, wow, very cool, very, very cool. Another thing about this MX5, as I keep getting interrupted by all these cool cars out and about. Yeah, the other thing that really kind of annoys me sometimes as well is the speed of it. I know it's more fun to drive a slow car fast, I get that, I do get that. But sometimes you do just want to put your foot down and feel something, just like, not straight away, but you do kind of want to, I get that it's meant to be all about the driving experience and that kind of thing, but I've been lucky enough to drive an S2000 and a 350Z, and it's, I guess the S2K relates more to the MX5, but you do feel that punch when you get into the higher rev range, and it's just something you just don't feel with this car. Yeah, it's still. I would still consider it it's still lively, and the engine revs nicely. And this one has the 1.8. You can get the 1.6, which I mean is a little bit more slower. But yeah, I mean it sounds quite good. Sounds quite nice, surprisingly. I don't know if you can hear that, but yeah. It's not really that bad with a little exhaust at the back, well, quite a big exhaust, but you know what I mean. However, this car does have its benefits. I mean, it's so much fun to drive. Yeah, you can throw it around most corners. Like it's very nimble. It feels very light when you're driving it. Like it is a super fun car to drive. Just taking it around this corner now, and it feels, yeah, that feels great. And then. Yeah, it's so fun. It's really fun. It's it's not fast, but it is fun to drive because you feel like you're in an old little sports car or something. So it does have its charm. I will give it that. Another thing I really like about this car actually is the fact that it can be, if you drive it, if you don't rag it about, if you don't put your foot down all the time, you can get a pretty good fuel economy. I've got around 30 miles to the gallon, which is not too bad for the age and what kind of car it is. I would say in that you would probably expect a little bit more because of how small it is and how small the engine is. But I'm not going to complain. It's a lot better than my friend's 350Z. That probably does around 15 to 17 miles to the gallon. So, it's not terrible on fuel. I'll give it that. Coming up to a little town area now, and you know what? Another thing that I do love about this car is it's so easy to drive around town. It's very small, which means manoeuvring in and out of spaces can be relatively easy. But yeah, I mean, driving around town is very easy. It's a small car, and especially where I live, which is on the outskirts of London, I mean, it's kind of perfect, especially when you've got the roof down, because then you've got no blind spots. It's brilliant. But yeah, no, it's very useful for that, I guess. It's very good for that. And there was loads of these built. There was so many MX-5s built. If you, honestly, I think I'm pretty sure it's the best-selling sports car of all time. So finding parts for this car is pretty easy. I mean, you can just find one that's been, that's one that's been breaking for parts on Facebook, and yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be able to easily find what you need, basically. So finding parts for the car, is relatively easy, which is a big thing when it comes to owning older cars. I mean, I spoke about it on my last video. When you buy an older car, sometimes finding OEM parts can be near impossible, and there may not be a company that makes an aftermarket part that's to a high quality, that you need for that car. Like I said, one of my friends, he owns an S14, and he really struggles to find parts. So having something like an MX5 is really useful if, when it comes to the aftermarket. So yeah, it's not a bad little car. And like I said before, I'll say it, I'll keep, Jesus Christ, that was a pothole. Wow. One thing I don't like about driving in the UK is the amount of potholes there are. But I don't know if you can hear this, but let's have a little listen to the engine. Yeah, doesn't sound bad, does it? It does not sound bad at all. It is a very antisocial exhaust though, so I should probably get something a little bit more quiet, because on long journeys that thing does give you a headache. So yeah, would I recommend an MX5? 100%. It's a brilliant car to drive. They're cheap, really cheap. I mean, I've picked this thing up for $3,000, you know, 3K on Facebook. And to be honest with you, I have no regrets. Like, it's wicked. And it's the sort of car where, look, it's not gonna be the most practical, but when you're driving it on some back roads like this, it's so much fun. Like, I could do this for hours, and it's probably one of those cars that I will really struggle to get rid of, and I probably won't sell it because I've grown way too attached to it now. Which it's funny how cars do that to you. But I've not really filmed a video like this before, so let me know if you enjoyed it, because I can understand it's very different to my current content. Of course, I will still be doing that content as well. So yeah, feel free, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Let me know what you think of this content. There's a lovely old Morgan that just drove past. There it is. Wow. Yeah, let me know if you enjoyed the content, and I will see you very, very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.